So when we think of Taurus, a lot of people in the astrology community have stereotyped them as being lazy, being gluttonous, and while many Tauruses have an appreciation, a pretty good appreciation for food, and have a pretty laid back demeanor about most things, I don't really think that's a fair assessment. That's not really what I think is the truth of the sign Taurus. So when I get into talking about their strengths and weaknesses in love, you're going to see how those stereotypes, first of all, came into being, and second of all, how they're not really quite true. So the first thing that I would say about Taurus as a strength in their relationships is their reliability. So when people are not even necessarily thinking about astrology and they go about their daily lives and they meet a Taurus, they're single, they're looking for someone, and they meet this Taurus, usually they're physically attracted to them. There's something very physically attractive about that person. So a lot of people can be attracted to Taurus for very shallow reasons. But I think the people who actually stick with Taurus and choose Taurus as a relationship partner, when they choose Taurus as a relationship partner, probably the number one thing that they are valuing about Taurus is their reliability. And this translates to so many different areas of their life. Their reliability just shows through everywhere and everything that they do. They're reliable to their family, they're reliable to their job, to their career. It's everything. And you're going to see that theme kind of playing out all throughout this video. But one thing that can be a problem is that reliability can also cause things like stagnation, not wanting to change, and stubbornness, the refusal to change. And even worse than that is that they might go so far as to completely dislike change, and not just dislike it as something for themselves, but dislike it in their relationships, dislike seeing other people changing things. So that reliability, it's great for the nostalgic moments. When you meet a Taurus, they're always going to be that same person you met when you were 21, 22. Maybe they were your high school sweetheart and you met them when you were 16. They're always going to be that person, and you're always going to have that same person that you can expect to come home to every single day. There's a lot of beauty in that reliability. They can really be your rock. They can be a nice, good, huge source of strength in your life for you. But then it might also a lot of times feel like they're trying to stop things from progressing. They're trying to stop things from changing. They don't want certain things to happen, and those certain things they don't want to happen are pretty much anything that means change. They can even be somewhat terrified of change in some ways. And then they might end up resenting people who are changing a lot, who are making a lot of changes, because it makes them feel uncomfortable. So with that reliability comes a lot of reluctance towards the change that they see outwardly in the world. And this can be things like trends, things that are going on in the news and the media and all that kind of stuff. They might really not be into it, not really be for it. Even the Tauruses who are very fashionable, they'll stick with classics. So that's one example of how that can come through. The second really big kind of blessing in being in a relationship with a Taurus, or having a Taurus anywhere in your life, is that they are caretakers. They care so much about the well-being of not just their partner, not just their family, but all of the people in the community. So they'll prioritize what is best for all of us. So when you're with the Taurus, you'll notice they're really taking care of you financially. They're taking care of you physically. They're making sure you're fed. They're doing whatever they can physically for you to make sure that you have good health, good well-being, good blessings all around you, that life is fruitful for you. But one of the bad things of that, on the more negative side, is that because they care so much and they want to protect and be able to nourish the people around them, they're also very cautious. This caution might be distrust. So for one, it can be very hard to enter into a relationship with a Taurus because they are kind of distrusting. They're cautious. They're slow to move forward with anything. They're slow to make any kind of agreement. And for people who don't have the patience, it's quite simply not going to work out if you can't be patient with a Taurus. So yeah, they're cautious, and that's another reason why they're afraid of change, because they're afraid of what it can do, not just to them, but to the people they care about, to their whole community. Like, if things start to change, what is that going to mean for all of us? Because I think from a Taurus perspective, now this is kind of hard for me to understand as a Leo, but what I gather from Taurus is even if or even when things are shitty, it's better to know in which way those things are shitty and be familiar with that situation so that you know how to deal with it already. And as long as you know the situation, you're familiar with it, and you know how to deal with it, there's a way to prosper. But if we have something new come in and then we just have to start from square one and figure it out all again, that's a problem. That's when our well-being is really being threatened. So Taurus, again, can be very against change. Okay, so the third blessing of being in a relationship with a Taurus, the third really nice thing about Taurus is their good judgment. Now, why do they have such good judgment? It's because they're able to simplify things. They're able to kind of put aside all the distractions, all the things that people get worried about, because we're only human. And these things start to make us feel afraid. And Taurus can focus on the things that are really important. Like, is there bread on the table? Yes. If there's bread on the table, good. If there's no bread on the table, that's not good. We should go get some bread. So Taurus can be a really great giver of advice for that same reason, because they can help bring clarity to other people. But on the other hand, it might seem like they don't really care about the details. They don't notice all of those little things. And if you have something that you're really upset about, but it's kind of complicated because your feelings are all tangled up inside, and you tell a Taurus about that, and they're just like, yeah, what's the problem? And that you're gonna be annoyed, because it might feel like they don't understand. And I'm not sure that not understanding is not really what's going on, but it's more so that they're keeping things simple. So it might seem like they don't care or like they don't understand because of that. And as we already covered, they care very deeply, and they take a lot of action to prove how much they care about everyone in their life. So it's really not fair to say that Taurus just doesn't care. Now, the fourth thing that's great about Taurus is their loyalty and their devotion. So a Taurus can very readily stay with one partner for their whole life and consistently provide, consistently be a good partner. That consistency is on par. I don't usually hear many stories about Taurus cheating or Taurus straying. I've heard some stories about Taurus getting divorced, but they're usually married to like an air or a fire sign, and it was the other party who had pushed the divorce rather than the Taurus. But even with Taurus's loyalty and devotion, and their kind of very high standards of what it means to be a good contributor, is that they have low tolerance for certain things. Yes, they are very loyal. Yes, they will always care. If they once cared, they always cared. But they have this kind of moral code, which everyone should. Maybe not everyone does, but everyone should. They have a moral code, and even if it's not written down, even if they haven't discussed it prior, they have these things that if someone does them, if someone crosses that line, there's no going back. And it's these completely unforgivable things. And you don't have to like go out and commit some like evil, heinous crime or anything like that. It could be something small, like a mistake that many, many people make that's just bad behavior. And if a Taurus person sees you do that, experiences you doing that, they might decide that they just have to cut you off. That's where they draw the line. That's where they're going to cease communication. So even though they're loyal, they're reliable, all of that stuff, their high standards make them unforgiving. If there's really something that has happened, they're probably not going to let you back into their life. So the next thing is, this is why they are stereotyped as being so lazy, because they're laid back and they don't really let a lot of things bother them. So that makes them a very easy person to be in a relationship with. Now, I don't think they're lazy, and I'll get to that in just a minute here. But the fact that they're so laid back makes a lot of people view them as being complacent, as being lazy, as not being really to work for change, because I think that's what most people want to do. You know, most of us want to work for change. We want to change things. We want to shift up the environment. We want things to be different. We want things to be better. And Taurus is more content with the way things are. They're like, we don't necessarily need a change, but maybe we need a little more gratitude, is what I'm thinking over here. So sometimes we need that reminder anyway. Gosh, who doesn't love being with someone who is laid back and who doesn't like scream at you over every little thing? So the next thing is my proof of how Taurus really isn't a lazy sign. And it's that Taurus is such a big contributor to its environment. Not just in their relationships, not just do they contribute financially by earning income for their family, not just do they contribute by cooking meals, by providing nourishment to the family. You know, they like to cook, they like to provide, they like to do whatever thing they can based on the role and the opportunities they were given. But I also see Taurus contributing just to their community, contributing to their environment, and like really providing something that is stable and consistent for everyone. Taurus is usually a great sign to work with. Like, I don't think I know a single Taurus whose coworkers don't love them. I've never even heard of a Taurus having problems with their coworkers. And if you're a Taurus and your coworkers complain about you, please let me know in the comments below, because I would love to hear that. Just go ahead and blow my mind, teach me something new. Tell me about, you know, the Taurus you can't stand at work, or, you know, what is going on. Don't use any names or anything like that, though. So, Taurus is always willing to pull their weight, more than willing to pull their weight. It's more than a sense of obligation. It's more than a sense of duty. It's almost just impulsive. Like, if a Taurus is alive, then they're going to be contributing something to the world. And that's just a given. Taurus just does that automatically, and they don't even necessarily, well, they don't even hardly ask for anything back in return, I guess is what I should say. Taurus just contributes automatically. So one of the potential problems with that, since Taurus is so focused on contribution, is that contributing something physically is their number one priority. That is their number one duty and kind of role in the world, just what they automatically do. This is Taurus on autopilot. Taurus is contributing and doing nice things for everyone and providing things in the world for everyone. But what isn't really so much their priority is dealing with people's emotional concerns and dealing with things that are upset with. And if they have like a Scorpio rising or a Scorpio moon or something like that, this might kind of make them the opposite of that, because Scorpio is the opposite sign to Taurus. So water placements in their chart will offset this a good deal, but still, to some extent, if they have Sun in Taurus or Moon in Taurus or even Venus in Taurus, that's going to show through in their lives. Like those moments where they're like, I just don't have time to be concerned with how other people are feeling. I don't have time to check in with you psychologically right now, as long as you're not going to cause any physical harm to yourself or others. You know, they have a very strict list of priorities, and as long as we're all physically okay, Taurus doesn't really think about the smaller details of things and the smaller concerns that are more, what's that word for it? Like vague or an anomaly, or I can't think of the right word. I don't know, help me out in the comments. I'll probably have thought of it by then anyway. But yeah, those are Taurus's strengths and weaknesses in love. If you want to see the rest of these videos, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. If you want to see videos that are just a tiny bit more romantic in nature and actually talking about how people interact in relationships, make sure you are subscribed to my Patreon so that you can watch my 30-minute long Venus in the Signs videos. And follow me on Facebook for more information there. If you are interested in fitness and martial arts, you can check out my fitness and martial arts pages. I'm actually the founder of a project called Boxing Mermaid, and I run a fitness group on Facebook. So if you would like to be a part of my fitness group and do online classes with me for a small fee, then go ahead and send me a message on Facebook. And my Facebook information to Wacko Witch Astrology will be in the description for this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!